Hello,
Hello.
hello. Emily, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi. I'm excited.
So, I'm going to do the really, really quick spiel. Hey, if you've never seen this stream before, we are the Bad Website Club. We're adding a free live stream and additional support experience around the free code camp curriculum. Right now, we're doing JavaScript. We're like, someone help me. Are we 6 weeks into an 8-week course? We've been doing this a while. If you want to join us, check out the badwebsite.club for more information, how to find our Discord, and the code of conduct you agree to. I'm Jess, and this is our very special guest. Hi, uh, Emily. You've got swag just off
I
screen that
do.
gives a
I
spoiler
will
for where
sort
you
of,
work and what you do.
there we
Ooh,
go. There's my,
and Mozilla. I work at the Mozilla Foundation. You work at the Mozilla Corporation. So
I
what
do.
do you do?
I work on one of Mozilla's front-end teams. So we are onboarding, messaging, and communication. So when you first download Firefox and you get a lovely welcome splash that says, let's do some nice things for you, get your bookmarks imported and things like that. That's my team that takes care of all that messaging and the
Yeah.
onboarding experience. That's us.
So it's wonderful to have a deadly serious, helpful front end engineer with
Oh,
us today because we're going to make a game.
yeah.
So let's take a look at what the functionality is going to feel. Do you know what we actually have? It's not like the snazziest, but like we actually have like graphics. Okay.
There we
Okay, so this
go.
is really exciting. I'm actively excited for this. Let's start coding.
Excellent.
So, you can either tell me what to do or I can guess because we've done this, or we can get our learners to tell us because we've
Yeah,
done this a couple of times. I bet they know. Oh, we
I
got
did
folks
notice. Oh, there we've got some people who know what's going on.
Canvas. Yeah. They're way better at this than I am. Um, So a const is one of the 2 ways we've learned to do a variable. There's 3 ways technically, but we ignore the other way generally.
Generally. Mostly it's, so I'm going to make an assumption that you mean var. And
Yes.
var is just sort of an older, I won't say outdated because there's plenty of places that still use it regularly. But for our purposes, const and let are a little more friendly. They kind of explain what they do on their own. So instead of needing to define what var stands for.
I've been telling our learners that we abstract away stuff at certain points. So what I'm doing is I'm setting 3 const. I'm setting to the get element document.get element ID that corresponds to these IDs that we've been given on. Oh gosh, there's only 2. Where have I gotten 3 from?
Huh? So there is one thing.
Yeah, what is wrong? I love wrong.
I believe, unless this is abstracted away by the editor, you're going to need that hash in front of your start button and your canvas
Oh, we
inside the
do.
function. Yeah.
Oh, that's not.
Well, there we go.
Ha ha ha.
And one other thing, we've got several someones
Yes.
who have noticed.
Quotes. Yes, I absolutely sort of remembered this. Thank you.
Beautiful.
It's wonderful because like the learners absolutely know all this. And every time I'm like, I know what I'm doing. And Eric's saying that we're not doing the hash. Let's try it and see if it works. And if it doesn't, joy of coding, joy of programming. So I'm like, "What? Let's try it. That's cool. And when we get this right, it's going to give us a little green stripe. So I'm just going to take this away as well. Nothing is wrong.
There we
Nothing
go.
can hurt
Yeah.
us.
So that does sometimes depend on what's abstracted away by your editor. So you're looking for, there's also something that I overlooked. So our first line there in step 2, where it's saying we're using document query selector, in that case, we would need the hash because we need it to know that we're looking for an ID with that
Okay.
name instead of, it could be anything. It could be a class. It could be something else. In the other case, in step 1, we were using get element
Get
by
element.
ID. So the
Which
function
says an
already
ID.
knows. So you're correct. Of course, we don't need the hash.
You're so patient. And the nice thing is, and actually, you're a deadly serious professional programmer. How important, I'm just trying to get you to back up my biases with the learners, like just back me up here. How important is it to get really, really chill and laid back about making mistakes?
Oh, so
And
chill.
everybody makes them all the time, right?
All the time.
Right.
Oh my goodness. If I could have, so we are not in the habit of recording all of our meetings. If I could do that and go back through meetings I've had, even just this week, the number of times myself or people who are far, far more senior than me have done something, demoed something live, and in the middle of speaking to a bunch of people gone, oh, wait, no, that's not right. That doesn't work that way. It's all the time. I forget. I use syntax every single day that I have to look up every time that I use it because I just doubt myself.
See, it's not just Ramon and Jess being goofballs, it's everybody being goofballs.
All the time.
So I've got a const for start screen, and it's set to document.querySelector. And then I've used the quotes again because I think I need them. And then the class, because it's the query selector, not get element by ID.
Yes.
And the same thing for checkpoint.
So you have a little bit of a squiggle in there.
Yes, that's because I can't have that dash in there. And
yes.
and did we want to?
So if you do
Oh, ha
S,
ha ha.
Yeah. So your code won't actually care if you don't do the capital S. That's just a convention to make things a little more easy to see.
But the test will probably yell at us. It's
Yeah.
got some
Yes, in this case, they're very particular. So yes, they would.
Oh. And do you know what Ramon, my co-teacher, does when we get something right, which I think is the cutest thing in the world? He gives us a little like pat to reinforce that dopamine reward. Unnecessarily cute. Like he's the nice one. Okay, so we're going to target the paragraph element inside checkpoint string. So document.querySelector and the child combiner. Learners, have we done this already? And it was just one of those days I was playing video games. It might well be. But const. And I'm so sorry. Are you okay to talk about this? You were a bootcamp learner yourself.
I was. So I am in Toronto, and we have they're actually not Toronto specific. They also have branches in Vancouver and Calgary, but I attended a boot camp called Lighthouse Labs back about 5 years ago, 5 and a bit years ago. I used to be a teacher and had, you get burnt out. It's a thing that happens. But one of the things I got to do when I was teaching was robotics and code with my kids. And I had other staff watch me do that and be like, you like this. You really like this, don't you? And so when I was done and I was ready to try something else, I was like, maybe I'll try this for real. And so I did a 10 weeks of boot camp and a couple of internships and sort of fell face first into my job that I have now. And it's been a ride, but it's been amazing.
So I'm so sorry. I don't know how to use the child combiner at all. So I'm just gonna and then P, that feels like it's not gonna be it.
Yeah. So we have 2 things we need to target here.
Okay.
So we're looking for the paragraph element, the P element that's inside the checkpoint screen element.
Yeah. So checkpoint screen, I feel pretty confident with. So I can copy and paste that in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So then you want to combine it with the paragraph element.
And these are both in separate quotation marks or
They'll
both
both be inside the same quotation mark, I believe.
Okay.
It's been a hot minute.
Right, right? That's why I was like, "Learners, bail us out." Oh, so we
Yeah,
think
so the class first. So the class is your, there we go. That should do it.
and if it doesn't do this, we'll just reverse it and see if that works, but we get that
There we
little
go.
pat, everything's fine.
Yeah. So what we have,
Oh, so
uh,
just really fast, the boot camp is free. Free Code Camp is free, but Free Code Camp is also a registered nonprofit. If you've got the cash and if you want to, donating is super nice, but don't none of you pay any money you ain't got, okay? Sorry.
of course.
Sorry, you were saying.
So now our step has moved on, unfortunately.
Oh, we're
So
just right here.
what we
Everything's
have done,
fine.
there it is. What we have done is we've told the query selector we want, so our angle bracket there is working as an arrow,
Yeah.
essentially. And
Okay.
so what we're telling it is look at the checkpoint screen and then go inside the checkpoint screen and look for a paragraph element. If we
Okay.
had it the other way around, we would be looking inside a paragraph element for something called checkpoint screen, which could exist, but in this
But
case, probably doesn't exist.
and we're going to be using a Canvas API. So if
Mhm.
learners, we've touched on APIs really, really lightly in other ones. And I always talk about it, it's like a library where there's resources inside you could do stuff with, but you need to go up and identify yourself correctly and
Mhm.
frame your request correctly. We use this Canvas one, which I have not done at all.
It's been a while for me too, so hopefully I will remember things as we go. The nice thing about the Canvas API is it exists by default inside HTML. It's a property of HTML. I know you guys have done a little bit of
Oh,
object-oriented programming, which sounds super fancy and complicated. And I totally looked at the Wikipedia for it last night to make sure that I got my vocabulary right. But it basically just means that everything exists as objects with properties. They're
yeah.
things that have other things that belong to them in a big long chain. So Canvas exists on HTML, and things exist on Canvas that we can then tap into and use. And because it exists on HTML, we don't need to prove who we are, or like we might have to do with outside APIs.
So there's no authentication. There's no getting a library card before we make these requests.
Mhm.
Everything's okay.
Yeah. In
And
this
for
case,
folks,
it's like your library in your house. It's just there.
oh,
You know,
oh,
it's
I like.
maybe it's in a room. You have to tell it that you want Canvas, but it's already there for you. So
I'm a big dork, so I've got like different bookcases for different languages. So for me, this
ooh,
feels like, oh, hey, you need to go to the bookshelf in your house that has all your Canvas options.
exactly. Yeah.
And what we've done here is we've set up a console CTX, and then just really, I could have copied and pasted this in, and I think this is going to work. It doesn't, because I bet I don't need that space. I should have copied and
Yes.
pasted.
Excellent.
So, canvas.width, below
Mhm.
my const declaration, append the width property b to the canvas variable.
Mhm.
Like,
So here's some object oriented. Yes, exactly.
oh, that like, I don't need
Exactly that.
to.
Yeah.
Okay. This is taking us back because, like, learners, this was what it was like at the first, like when we first started learning at Free Code Camp, wasn't it? Where it's like, put this in. And it can't be this easy, but it could. Ah,
Mhm.
yes, free dopamine. Okay.
Exactly.
So here we're saying that we're gonna set the width of our canvas. So where we're gonna paint our game, we're gonna
Mhm.
set it to the inner width of our browser.
Exactly. And we're
Sorry,
getting a bunch of freebies here where Canvas exists, width already exists. So we're just telling it that we want to use it. And inner width is a property of the browser already. We don't have to define it. We don't have to say how big is it. It exists, so we get to use it.
so this is really so when we talk a lot about we talk a lot about abstracting concepts away to learn, but this is really the browser abstracting a complex thing away for us, and
Yes.
Canvas just knows magically.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to do the exact same thing here, but for height. And
Mhm.
because the learners have been trying to get me to not say lazy as often, because I keep recommending.
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with being lazy.
I
That's
recommended the book
you could call it being efficient if
that,
you really want to.
yeah, but I love a copy and paste. And what we're really doing is, I think that this is the exact same. Canvas width is set to the inner width. Canvas height is set to the inner height.
Mhm.
Do you know what? This isn't too easy. We're actually fantastic at programming.
Yes. It is nice when it's intuitive. Yeah.
And the joy of programming, I'm so sorry, my Arabic is rubbish, is saying, oh, the inner width is defined in the sort of the window being an object in itself. And
Exactly.
that's stunning.
Exactly. So these are properties that exist on the object already. We can access them. We can use them.
So we're going to set a new. So I was just very, very pleased that, like, ha ha ha, we're actually, but this feels kind of easy. Like this feels, it's like,
I mean, we're tapping into some things that already exist. Exactly. There we go. But this is the nice thing. This is one of the real benefits of object-oriented, is that you can always, if a property doesn't exist, and JavaScript especially is very friendly and easygoing in the sense that, like, if something doesn't exist, it'll make it for you. It'll be like, okay, hey, that thing isn't there. We'll just put it there. It's fine.
okay, but I'm not like, ha ha ha, this is too easy. We're having too nice a time. I'm like, ha ha ha, this is too easy. I've been in this class. It's going to get us in a second. I bet.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We're doing a let. We haven't seen a let in ages. And as a deadly serious professional programmer, do we like this variable name? This is.
I mean, it does. It says what it is, and it's going to do what it says on the tin, which is nice.
And so usually you won't be coding in your browser. You should be coding in a program like VS Code or Atom when it existed, or Sublime, and it'll often autocomplete these long names for you if you've
Yes.
typed them once.
Yeah.
I think. Look. We've got a let, which we haven't seen in a while. It's set to true. I
Yeah.
love it. This is
Yeah.
okay. Okay, an arrow function. Good. This'll hurt me. So const proportional size.
Yeah.
And it takes a size parameter. I'm so sorry. We were like, come on in. We really want you to drive. And it's
You're doing a fantastic job. I'm happy to just be here and be moral support.
and really providing and this is very goofy. I've forgotten the syntax. Is it a and then there's definitely an arrow.
So so there's a couple of things we're missing. So we want to associate our parameter in the brackets with our function. So.
Oh, wait, and
there's one. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. So you can also do, you can have const proportional size equals. You can also just omit the equals in between. If you were to do proportional size in your brackets directly, I'm pretty sure.
Right? I think that it might. So sometimes it gives us like extra test things to fuss up. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, so it did. It just added that equal sign to be like, no, come on, y'all. Like, just learn it this way and then chill out.
Yeah.
Okay. So width and the height and the main player platforms and checkpoints will be proportional size relative to the inner height. Okay.
Yeah. This is the part where we have to do it. Well, we have to do some math. We're not going to do the math. We're going to let it do the math for us. It's fine.
I don't remember how to do a ternary operator, and we've been doing them every day.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. So they want the width and height of the main player, platforms and checkpoints. Yes. So we're saying we want it to be a portion of Yep, so inside.
So here, I do think we've got an if thing going on because it
Mhm.
says we want to return a ternary that checks if my inner height is less than 500 and then
Mhm.
return this math I don't want to do in my head.
Exactly.
Yeah. Our learners can tell why we don't have Stuart on this one because he'd be like, no, 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 we need to break down the math. And then I'd cry.
Yeah, I mean, math has never been my favorite thing, but essentially what we're doing here is we're saying we want our height, in this case, to be a certain proportion of the window size. So however big our window is, we're going to create a height, determine a height that is some portion of that size.
And I'm aware that I'm not doing this the way it wants because it's asked it to
Mhm.
do a ternary operator. And that's
So,
not what I've done, but I have written it out just like to get it out of my head. Like I think this is what we want to do, but there's a different format.
mhm,
Oh, Lisa suggests, oh, it's the question marky one, isn't it?
mhm.
Question marky one being the deeply technical way to say this.
Yes, of course. So that basically a ternary is just a simple if. So in this case, we have basically an if and an else. We have only two possible cases. So it's totally fine to use a ternary. If you had more than that, it would start to get a little bit verbose. Yes. So what we're saying is, here's what we're evaluating to start with. Question mark, is it true or not? True case goes first, and then the false case goes after a colon.
And if I recall correctly, we don't say return for this because the return is implied.
Yes. Yeah.
There's like a 20% chance this right. So this is the same thing. These are roughly the same thing.
They are exactly the same thing.
Exactly
Well,
the same.
actually, we haven't defined our else case in the if yet, but they would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, otherwise, afterwards, you would have said, if this, then do that, else do this other thing. We've just shortened it, abbreviated it.
Oh, folks are telling me I might want to do the return. Let's try it. I thought ternary had an implicit return. It doesn't. Okay, chill. Cool. Uh, the return will come. We've got a ton of folks saying, oh, so we can either delete these and that makes the return implicit. Oh, it doesn't want us to do that.
Oh, we have an extra. Yeah, we will need our brackets.
We will not. That's a shame.
We will
I
need
thought
our
I was being very
brackets.
fancy. Okay, so then we're going to put return.
So this might be me because I don't know if I can see your entire window. Are they asking for a ternary?
Oh, sorry.
Is it there we
So
go.
they're asking for a ternary here.
Ah.
And then
Oh,
down
they
here.
want you to return a ternary. Okay. So what we're doing, I suppose, is we're returning. We don't just want to return the result of the math, which is what this ternary is going to do. Or rather, we don't want to return a function that does the math. We want to return the result of the math. So that's where we are, where we're missing the return. So the ternary itself does have an implicit return in that it's going to, we don't have to do if this, then return that, else return this other thing. But we want to return the ternary. We want to, when we call the function, get the ternary that does the math.
I'm chill with that. And we got our little green stripe. Everything's fine. There's a little debate amongst the learners about like, oh, should we go super fast or super slow? And unfortunately, fortunately, I guess depending on what your perspective is, every time that Ramon's not here, I slow everything well down. So it's a good day for everybody into that. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Can we get you to come back every week? Are you good luck? Like,
So not quite.
oh, new class. Oh,
Yeah, that's all it is. So one convention is that we want player to be capitalized.
Oh, we do absolutely want
Yep.
player to be capitalized.
There we go. And see how it turned green. So it's even the editor, in this case, we don't need the equals because
Ah,
we're not telling it what it equals yet. We're just like, hey, this thing exists.
make it.
Yeah.
I'm going to just make myself a note that. So one thing we're doing as part of this boot camp is we're actually beta testing this platform, or beta testing this curriculum, because they've just released it right before us. And I don't love that it didn't give me my tests for why this didn't work. So I'm just gonna like raise an issue after that.
Yeah, give you some
Oh,
feedback.
I'm actually gonna reload this because this still doesn't seem to be having a very happy day.
Let's see. I'm going to go try it
Oh,
myself.
is it a class?
So we should just be returning. Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
Everything is fine.
Cool. It wanted class plus the obviously very, very deadly serious engineer, completely legit to call those wiggly babies professionally.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Curly's. Curly
Firefox team calls them wiggly babies exclusively. I think that's probably not true.
We would, I mean, I think most people would call them curly braces, but everyone's going to know what you mean. So, yeah.
Okay. And if I remember, these are sort of key value pairs like
Absolutely.
A, B, and then do I need a comma between
Yep.
them?
Yeah.
This can't even hurt us. This is fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
create an
we
empty
have,
constructor.
we're creating an object. In this case, it's a class because we want it to be reusable. We're going to make in this case, we're making a single player, but we could, if we wanted, make many players by calling this class a bunch of times. So what we are defining is we're going to define some properties, which would just be name and value. And we could also define methods, which would be functions that exist on player. Mm-hmm.
So here it says create an empty constructor.
Mm-hmm. But
does it mean with these position, velocity, width, and height values?
Not quite.
Oh,
we do want an empty constructor. So this is easier than it sounds.
Okay, because
constructor is a keyword, so we can just use it. Yep, and give it some curly braces. There you go. And a comma. Oh, not quite. Oh, yes. Lisa and several other people as well. We do need braces on the constructor because the constructor is going to do some things. It's a function of our property.
Ha ha ha. Thank you very much, my loves. Y'all are infinitely patient. And I promise that we'll never, ever, ever let Ramon have a day off ever again. Bwahaha. Okay.
There we go.
Ha ha ha. Okay.
There we go.
Doesn't like the spaces. That tracks. And everything's fine. This was both easier and harder than promised.
There you go. And they've opened it up for you. So now inside those curly braces, we can define some things. Ooh, I like this.
So, ha ha ha.
I like this.
So we lightly previewed this
Mm-hmm.
earlier in the boot camp, but then yesterday and the day before, if I'm correct, the work that the learners did with Ramon touched on this a lot. That's not why I was absent the last 2 days, but it's not. So Emily, I'm so sorry. You don't have this additional context. I don't write a lot of JavaScript day to day. I'm not great at it. And as a linguist, this being a keyword that means this thing kind of low key freaks me out.
That's really interesting. Because so why does it? I don't know if we want to go on a linguistic tangent right now, but
We
why
could do
does
it
it
during the
freak you
question and
out?
answer, like, there's no that?
Hmm.
Mm,
There is no that keyword. I don't know what that would refer to. However, we're inside something.
okay.
So we are right now physically, even I suppose physically, in your editor, you are inside the curly braces for what? Well, two things actually.
Oh, what?
'Cause you're inside two sets of curly braces right now where you are. So you are
Oh, so I'm
exactly the same.
inside the class, and then I'm inside the so I'm inside the player.
Yeah. So
Oh, so like,
we're referring back to the thing that we're inside of.
oh,
It's just a
no.
nice way of not needing to say player every time. Player dot position would work. What is handy about this is that if we then at some point in the future define a pile of players, we don't have to tell it every time, player one, this, player two, that. Because of the this keyword, every player knows, oh, I'm referring to myself. So every time you call a function on that player, it'll refer to the function inside that player, not any other one. So
This is the this is the closest that this has made sense to clicking for me, where you were just like, "Oh, hey, this is to keep us from needing to type player, player, player again and again."
Mhm.
Tina's making a point that we should petition to make concepts like that and other keywords. I really, really want to state that you almost never want to let a linguist design a programming language. But if you want a language that is designed by a linguist and has like a very poetic vibe, you can do things in like beautiful, weird, distressingly complicated ways. Perl, the programming language, was
Mhm.
developed by a linguist who's really nice. And oh, his wife's a linguist. I but
Mhm.
if you want a um, very, very um, linguist approach to programming languages, here's Perl.
Oh,
You're
there we
welcome.
go.
I'm sorry. Okay, but this dot position is me saying player. This is me saying this to just be a shortcut for player, and I'm
Mhm.
setting the position to this empty object.
Yep.
But this is getting to be a very aggressive pat very quickly. Like, rah.
There we go. There is a very interesting sort of movement towards plain language in programming. Um, the older a language is, the more mathy it is, the closer to we kind of talk about like it's closer to the hardware, closer to the metal. You get to things that's like just do binary is just the numbers, right?
So this
And
was a point
every
Nojo
time,
made. Yeah. So
yeah,
like closer to the hardware is closer to those ones and zeros, the machine codes that are really harder for people.
exactly. Underneath all of what we're doing here is a bunch of other language in it. Eventually, we're going to get right down to machine instructions, bits flipping. So every language is just a layer on top, and we kind of have gently moved towards being much more plain and explicit and naming things in a way that are human readable.
We talk about human readability a lot, mostly because I like so I'm doing is it says to create an X and Y with the value of proportional size. So I'm really kind of copying these over and hoping I've
Mhm.
got the syntax. And if I don't, it's not even a big deal.
Yeah. Hey, so can someone give me a really quick uh, definition of so what are we doing inside? So we're telling X, for example, X, you are proportional size with an argument of 10. What's happening there? So we defined proportional size a couple lessons back.
Yeah. So I might let the learners do this. I've got a reasonably good idea, and every time I think I've got a reasonably good idea, it means I'm wrong. Anytime I'm really confident, be like, "What's this doing?" Is and there's a delay, so they're gonna get to us in a step or two. We can just scroll up and take a look at it, so there's no worry.
Sure.
We're gonna pat because we definitely got this right. Nothing's wrong.
Absolutely.
Below our position object, use the this keyword, and here this means player. This is just player because we're inside the player object.
Hmm.
Jane is saying, "Oh, I think that this proportional size is setting aside related to the axes that we've set."
Hmm.
And Joy of Coding is saying, I think that what this is proportional to is that inner width and inner height.
Yeah. So that math we did earlier, or that we refused to do and let the code do for us, we're giving it now. We're giving it an argument. So we're saying we want you to do. Remember how the math was some algebra. It had just a named variable in there, which was a portion of inner height. And so we're giving it the portion now and saying, use this in your math. Give us, I can't remember what the mathematical expression was that we gave it. It was
It was wiggly. It was like
10 times 500. Yes.
math ceiling, so rounded up, size divided by 500
Yes.
times inner height.
Yes. So we're giving it size.
And I've been cheating and typing while you've been chatting because this feels very similar to that.
Yeah.
And we're saying we're setting our player position to and the x and y to be related to this proportional size math. And this velocity, we're just setting the x and y to this to 0 to start.
Yes.
I'm
If you have a velocity of 0, you're not moving yet, right? Yeah.
Yes, look at this. Nothing can hurt us. We're perfect and shining. Everything's fine. So obviously our downfall, our hubris is coming. Okay, this keyword below our velocity, this width. Okay.
So we've used width already. However, what we were before, we were talking about the width of the screen, right? Of our canvas. We were defining our canvas. In this case, we're talking about the width of, where are we?
So this is a really useful keyword right now because we're saying, hey, I don't mean width and it's going to clash with the naming of that variable earlier. I mean this width.
Yeah, the width of the player. Exactly. There you go.
And that's going to be equal to, what do I have in here? I've got, wait, what?
Then there's the answer to my question from earlier. We're using the proportional size function that we defined before on the canvas to set the width and height properties of the class, the player, relative to the size of the screen. So no matter what size of screen or canvas we end up on, our player is always going to look relatively the same.
Okay, I'm not super confident about this, but I'm so potentially confident that I'm just going to copy this dot height as well because I think we're going to do height. And if the syntax is wrong, it's not even that big of a deal. We'll just change it. Use of this proportional size 40 again.
Yep.
Okay. And there's like a fifth. So this width is set to width. If this is wrong, it's not even going to hurt me. It'll hurt me a little.
It won't hurt. It doesn't hurt to be wrong.
Not yet. Okay, we don't get any feedback here either. Oh, is it because I've added these semicolons that I definitely don't need? Okay.
Not quite. So in this case, we're already, so scroll up a little so you can see your previous. There. So the reason width, yeah, there you go.
Because we don't need those key value pairs. We're just setting the width of this. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a little bit confusing. but it's just a function of when we're talking about position, we're giving X and Y coordinates on a map. When we're talking about width, we're talking about a single value. So we only need the one.
I think we do need those semicolons here then.
We do need commas.
Commas?
Or semicolons?
Oh,
Semicolons is probably fine.
sorry. This was not me like, I challenge your assertion, but I was like, I'm sorry, I already could. Like, a green stripe's a green stripe.
Yeah, no, that works. That's one of those things. So this is both a blessing and a curse of JavaScript, is that JavaScript is actually a really friendly, chill, helpful language, where there's a lot of things you can do syntax-wise where it'll look really gross. It'll look like scrambled eggs, but JavaScript will be like, yeah, I can do that for you. That's great. Like it'll figure stuff out. And so that just means we pile on a bunch of other things on top of it, especially when you're working in a really big team, to make sure we all write things that look the same, because they might work the same, but if they don't look the same, it's hard for people to understand what you mean.
And we've talked about that a little bit because, like, me personally, I don't love an arrow function. Like, just let me say it's a function and then I can scan it.
Mhm.
But you're really suggesting that within a big team, because there's different people touching different pieces of code, the ability to say, hey, here's these like shared conventions. We agree
Yeah.
about how to write this.
And you actually, it doesn't come from anywhere. You would agree with the person that you're working with. If you're working on your own thing, do your own thing. Maybe try and be consistent, be consistent with yourself the same way you would writing an essay. But in a team, you decide what it is. So I'm actually right now working with two different teams, my own team and a smaller sub team. We're doing a side project where we have we call those rules lint, like on a sweater that we pick off all the lint and make it clean. We have different linting rules.
Oh no! So you've got to like do it one day on a Monday.
I switch contexts and I write something, and I have my system set up to automatically fix a bunch of those small things for me. And then sometimes if I'm like, oh, I'm working on the other thing, then I have to go back and unfix them all so that it matches the other rules. It's like, oh no. So.
Oh, so anybody who's ever been in academia, it's kind of like using Chicago-style citations versus APA.
Exactly.
Or like if you're having to write a paper in English, like somebody coming back and being like, no, we actually wanted this in British spelling. Put all the U's back. Mm-hmm. So draw is a method. So that's like a built-in function that already exists.
Yeah. So a method on an object, you can have properties and methods. Properties are static information. They're just facts about that object. Methods do stuff, but they exist. We call them members of the object. They hang out together in the same club.
It's not like class where I would say method.
No.
I just have to say draw.
Yep.
And that's okay. At create an empty draw method, I'm literally done, right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
No? Oh, what does it want? Below your constructor. Are you in the right place?
It's put me here, so it'd be cruel. Oh. Joy of Coding's just like, Jess, you forgot the wiggly, the curly braces. Everything. Thank y'all so much keeping me honest, curly babies. Woo. Please don't say curly babies in a job interview. And if you do,
please do.
If you do, if anybody's mean to you, send them to me and I'll fight them, which is Shirley.
I'm pretty sure I called them dealy boppers in a meeting once. So
dealy boppers. So assign the string. So for me, this is wild. So CTX.fill style is probably a built-in part of Canvas. Like this is something that Canvas knows.
Yes. So yeah, I agree with you. Your comment from earlier. I don't love that they don't explain this. It could be a very short explanation, but yeah, we're accessing the draw method that already exists on Canvas. And within Canvas, there's a certain set of properties that already exist. We defined CTX way back. We set it to be our canvas, right?
Yeah.
So we're right now saying the fill style property that exists on Canvas already, this is what we'd like it to be.
And learners who have joined us for web, what's going on with this 99C9FF, please, my loves? So one thing I'm always like, I abstract tons of stuff away where we're looking at something and somebody will mention something really hard and I'll be like, learners, pretend this doesn't exist for another couple of weeks. I'm sorry. So, hey, Jane, you're after my own heart.
Nice.
And I get to show a picture of your cat who's too pretty. This is our hex code for color. We use this in CSS all the time. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at this. So, we're going to create the player shape by using.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Fill rect. Can we guess what it's doing?
Oh, I can't, but let's ask the learners if they want to.
So I'm gonna give you a quick hint before we go any further. Knock that down 2 lines under that curly bracket because we want
it's outside the
outside. Yeah.
Oh, we're doing a completely so this
Yeah.
is the method where we're drawing, and this is where we're using the fill rect.
Mm-hmm. So if we can guess, so fill style, we've given it a style, we've given it a color. Fill rect does something, and it takes an x and a y value, a coordinate, and it takes a width and a height. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, like in my head, I was just like, ah, and now that I see it, I'm like,
Thank
oh, it
you.
fills in a rectangle. So we're going to use this position X, this position Y, this width, and this height. And those are going to be our parameters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which I separate by a comma.
Yeah. Oh, you ate your X there.
Did I? Oh, what a menacing concept. I would quite like to be able to just eat parameters on a weird day.
Mm-hmm. We do say functions or methods will consume parameters. So
consume. Oh, so like the smooth braces are like a little mouth.
Mm.
Oh, I love some body horror. Okay, that hasn't quite worked.
So inside the fill method
is where I'm putting this.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are patient as heck. All the learners who are just like, yeah, I want to go more slowly. Y'all get what you get. Okay. Our draw method should have. Okay. That.
So we've.
So it's CTX dot. And then maybe that goes inside.
So their instructions. I'm trying to keep us as close to their instructions as I can here. Oh.
Let's just try it all of the different ways.
That's a good approach. I'm not even being remotely sarcastic.
No. Like, I think that maybe, so this is a method that goes inside our method on 33. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is just copy and paste this like this because I'm lazy. Efficient. Okay. That hasn't worked. That's not a problem. What if, do we need these curly babies? What if it goes inside the smooth babies? I think that's not super likely, but yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, because this is a predetermined method. I probably only need to say, hey, you're filling in a rectangle. Here's the position, XY position, the width and the height.
Mm-hmm.
And then.
So, yeah. Could you scroll just a teeny weeny bit up so I can see their instructions? Create. So that's not bad. That's not bad instructions.
I would have liked the little CTX right here, but I understand why they because like this is the kind of mistake you're going to make, dated, not you.
Yeah, and you kind of just trial and error your way. And the keyword there was we're using the method, not defining the method.
Because like the curly brace, yeah, we get that. We get that.
Mhm.
Are is where we set the behavior, and here we just needed the parameters to make this work.
Exactly.
We still got a little bit, but folks who've got questions, give them, and we'll start breaking them down after we do a couple more steps. We do have a bunch of homework we're going to give you in here, but the reason we're giving you a bunch of homework on this isn't just because I'm slow. It's mostly because I'm slow. It's also because the part we're doing right now is the kind of like setup. There's going to be a bunch of joy when you're able to like start seeing stuff move, and I really want y'all to get some of this joy.
Mhm.
Otherwise, Ramon will get this joy with us tomorrow, and that's he doesn't get joy after skipping a Friday.
I do believe, from having kind of kicked my way through this a ways back, in a few steps, we should actually be able to see things. They won't be moving things yet, but we should be able to see things. Maybe we can get there.
Okay, so I'm over adding CTX stuff now. That's not true. Update below my draw method. That's where I'm at. Create an empty update method. I think
Mhm.
this is just going to give it to me. No.
One thing. So we've got update, we've got parameters. We're missing one thing to make it a method.
Oh, we just did this. I literally did this a minute ago.
Yes.
I am always going to be like this. I have resigned myself.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, so inside the update method, call the draw method.
Yeah.
This dot draw?
Mhm.
Draw like
So, yeah. Yeah. And in order to call, yeah. So the smooth babies, the regular brackets, that's what indicates to the program, hey, this is a function. You're going to do some stuff. So even if you're not passing any parameters,
we still need to say.
you could have a property called draw without the brackets. It would be very confusing, and I would tell you maybe name it something different, but you could, and it would refer to two different things.
Amazing.
Oh, when did I start to feel comfortable? I'm not. Not.
We'll expand in this in the question answer as well. So like all the like right?
Surprise.
I we try and broadcast that to be like, hey, programming all the time is about feeling a little bit bad all the time.
Yeah.
But in a learning way.
Yeah. But you know what? So I mean, we kind of joke around a little bit about imposter syndrome. It's a real thing. So it's a real thing and it's not a joking thing. However, like it does not go away. And the fact that you have it, generally speaking, if you're worried about whether you should be where you are, you're fine. Because if you're worried about it, you're going to be doing things about it. You're going to be making sure you're still learning. You're still, doing what you need to do. People who are sure of everything, that's when you stop. You just become unsure of new things. That's
So I actually did a talk about imposter syndrome, and I just went to get it like 7 years ago. Oh no, is that 8? Like, what is this? What? Oh,
it was
2016. 2016.
Mhm.
But let's just do 1 or 2 more steps. We'll get some more questions, and nothing can hurt us. So when the player moves to the right, we'll need to adjust its velocity. So,
Mhm.
the addition. So velocity, this dot velocity,
Mhm.
plus equals.
Yeah. So we have to combine a few things from earlier, and they're being sneaky and not explicitly telling us what we're doing. We are, yeah.
Yeah.
This, so we're missing one thing in there. The player's X position.
Oh, this dot.
Aha.
So hang on, because thises are always difficult. So this method is going to update. So this is going to keep checking and keep keep up with the movement. This dot draw is going to keep drawing the player.
Mhm.
This dot velocity is going to say, hey, cool. The velocity I have now, the velocity I start with is 0.
Mhm.
I want you to add the position of the player at X to the velocity. So I want you
Mhm.
to move. Okay.
Yeah. And each time, so because we're using plus equals, we're not just adding it once, we're adding it over and over and over. So we're going to keep moving.
Yeah. Eric, that's a marvelous question. I'm going to just save that for the Q&A. Nothing is wrong. Okay. So plus to add the velocity coordinate to the player's X position.
So this is where I go, how did we define this again? And we scroll back up and we take a look. This dot velocity is x and y. This dot position dot x should be fine. We have defined it correctly.
Do you know what? Do you know what?
Ah, ha, 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 ha. Yes.
Is that how you spell position? Okay, that
It
is.
is. So it's actually that we've got them inverted. We talked our way through it and then we wrote them out in the wrong way.
Ha ha ha.
Because the thing is your velocity could change. We could say go faster for every instance of position, add 2 or add 5 or something. There we go.
Okay, look.
This velocity dot, which way are we moving?
So we're moving on the x-axis.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. Hey. So I'm saying that my position on the x-axis, on this horizontal axis,
Mm-hmm.
is going to be set to the velocity, the speed with which is going to the velocity on x, the speed with which I continue to move forward is going to be added to my position.
Mm-hmm.
Plus added, so continually added.
Yes. There we go.
And do you know what? That really good pat, it might be where I go ahead because, like, I bet this is going to feel really, really familiar. So I want to go ahead and lovingly abandon the learners on step 24. And I'm going to give you a lot of homework, but it's not that big a deal. It's not actually going to hurt you. So the whole deal with the homework, the whole deal with this boot camp is there's no deadlines. We don't expect you to be finished on April 5th. Everything's fine. But if you want to try on your own to get to about 50, oh no, oh the pain, oh the misery. And then Ramon and I tomorrow will go through 50 and we won't finish with you. We'll go faster, but we're definitely going to leave you this chunk at the end because we really, really want you to feel like your game gets put together and it's just you. I'm going to check out. We've got 2 questions and one which we've touched on, so I'll save that one for the last. And if other folks have questions, just give them to them. Ooh, this one's a judgment question. I love a judgment question. Eric's like, okay, when you finish this JavaScript curriculum, do you think we know enough to apply for a junior position as a developer, a front and back end developer?
So the answer would be it depends.
Hey, that was my answer.
It really does depend. So first of all, big caveat being, I don't know the curriculum inside and out, so I can't say whether or not there's going to be, bits missing. But the trouble with applying to positions is everybody has a slightly different idea of what certain levels and certain titles mean, which can make it very, very confusing. So junior in one place might mean something. It might be equivalent to intern somewhere else. It might be student worker somewhere else. So really what you have to do is go look at your job posting and say, okay, what actually do they want? What do they want me to be able to do? And often there will be, when you're interviewing, some kind of code test, some little mini project they want you to put together. And if that sounds like something you can do it. Apply for it, because you never know.
So I'm consistently like, I'm not the boss of y'all. I'm not telling you what to do. But a really nice bar I might want to say is like, hey, do you know what? These portfolio projects, they're great to add to a portfolio, but because the scope of Free Code Camp is so large, if you're applying for internships or entry level roles, if you just have hey, here's my portfolio project, I haven't really changed it, the folks in the employers are going to see a whole bunch of different applications that look portfolios that look exactly like that. Um, actually, I'm so sorry, Emily. I've got you here, and because you're like a very, very fancy programmer, I keep asking you to reinforce my biases.
Of course.
But I always tell the learners that when they don't know something, their three options are to ask somebody,
Hmm.
to look it up, or to
Hmm.
get weird and experiment. Um, and actually, so I really like the web and JavaScript curricula for getting somebody to an employable place, like internship level. I like to encourage learners to take your portfolio projects and refactor them in a way that's different and that gets weird. So we actually had one of our learners, one of the first projects we did. Can I show you? Oh no, this is just gonna be me like cooing over how much I love our learners. Um, One of the first projects we did is this text-based role-playing game. And one of our learners immediately was showing it off in the Discord, saying, "Hey, I did this, but I added images that show like, oh, you're in the castle, oh, you're a dragon." And I loved this because this was such a good example of I refact this and made it my own and added extra
Yeah,
features.
it's a really great way to show that you haven't only followed the steps. Following steps is super important because a lot of the time you're going to run into in your real life job, you're going to run into situations where you're like, I've never done this before. Let me go find the instructions for how to do this, find the manual, find the documentation, and follow the steps. And so that's actually a really important skill. And it doesn't mean that you're, still junior or whatever. But showing that you can change the steps means that you understand them. So if you can take your basic project and then add spice to it, then that's a way of showing your understanding, which is really helpful.
And I see Nojo in the chat being like, "Hey, the job market right now is really, really hard." So like a lot of
Fair.
employers do use like timed code challenges for hiring.
Hmm.
And I hate that so much. I hate it so much. I hate it from an employer perspective. I hate it from a but the one thing so when folks are ready to start looking for employment, the one big thing I would push is it's hard to get your first job in tech. It's especially hard if you're self-taught. And while this is a boot camp, we don't have the scale to offer employment support. So y'all are effectively self-taught. I would also say apply for jobs early, apply for jobs often. And in the same way that you try and um, keep that piece of your heart still that flinches when you get something wrong. I'm so sorry that job hunting, especially in the market right now, you're gonna have to try and still that little piece in your heart where because like a professional rejection's a rejection, right?
Yeah.
It feels bad. So like letting that scar over a little bit. This sounds horrible. I'm so sorry. But also like taking breaks, like applying for work is so, so
Yeah,
hard. I'm so sorry, my loves.
it is tough. I will say too that so I have in my position been able to interview some folks. And one of the things that we love to see is I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to find out. Or I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to take my next best guess and try. Or that didn't work, but how can I find out what will work or what else can I try? Like it's okay. You're not going to, especially when someone's giving you a live coding challenge and there's pressure and there's like
Oh,
the first one I did that got me my internship at Mozilla asked some really simple questions about array manipulation.
okay. And we've done
And
that. Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
just like how would I access this piece of information on array, or how would I put it on there and get it back off? And all of my education was in JavaScript and Ruby and a teeny weeny bit of Python. And this interview was worded in C.
Oh, see,
And
C always seems super hard to me.
C is just a lower level language, so a little more mathy and a little less wordy.
That's what I said.
Um, and the concept is the same. It works the same. The vocabulary is a little different, and it freaked me out. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I don't know anything. Oh no. And then once I sat with it for a little while, sat with it for a couple minutes and realized, oh, this is just a different word for an array. I actually can't remember what the word is in C because I don't work in C. It's a struct. I don't know. They used a different word. Once I was like, oh, wait, it's an array. But then I knew because I knew that word and the rest of how to explain. I knew the concept. Just the word tripped me up. So like, be okay with that. See if you can like, emotionally be okay with sometimes you're going to have a minute where you don't know what you're doing or you feel like you don't know, but that's okay.
And so the very last class we're going to do, we'll focus on talking about employability. We'll talk about interviews. We'll just do like a sort of what's next in question and answer and get a lot of feedback from learners. If you want, we're super happy to have you come and talk to us about your experience again. But at the
Sure.
same time, I know you're wonderfully busy. I don't want me to put you in the spot.
Mm-hmm. And yes, I'm going to try this name. I hope I get it right. Noho. C programmers are rare. And yes, and that's exactly why, because they work on some stuff that is like the foundational bare bones parts of some really important things. And a lot of folks don't know how they work. So if you're the person who knows how they work, it's great.
Amazing.
So yeah.
So we answered this really, really briefly. I want to come back to this question from Sean because I love it. How long after the boot camp and starting at Mozilla did you begin to feel comfortable in the role?
Yeah. And the answer is you don't. But it's okay. So the more serious answer is I got comfortable with specific parts of my role one little bit at a time. So when I started as an intern, I got given projects, tasks that were appropriate for that level of coding that I was at. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And I got really in this case, I started with the OMC, the onboarding messaging communication team, which wasn't called that at the time. And Firefox had a modal when you updated or when
We
you
learned
sent.
about modals.
This
Yeah.
modal would pop down with
We
some
don't say pop
information,
up, but
and I was put in charge of the modal, and it was like, but all I was doing was like, we want to change the content text. We want to change the design of it a little bit. So I was doing some very surface level, like HTML, CSS within this modal. I got really comfortable with that modal. That was like where I lived for a couple of months. And then I got other responsibilities added on top, and it was scary and weird, and I didn't know what I was doing. But then you get comfortable with those responsibilities, and that just keeps adding like that. So there's always a little bit of uncomfortable. I have a task right now that I am totally procrastinating on. I completely promised I would start it this week, and it's now Friday afternoon, and I have not started because it intimidates me.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I haven't worked on before, and I'm not really sure how to approach it. So I'm putting it off. I'll stop doing that.
One of my favorite hacks for that I stole from Ramon is sometimes if I'm really stuck on something and I definitely don't want to do it, I'll mirror on the task and I'll say, it's usually Ramon. I'll say, hey, I'm really stuck. I don't want to start this. Can we just get on a call and we'll work on two separate things? But like
Mhm.
looking at another person will be like, oh, I said I'd do this. I have to do this right now.
Yeah.
And somehow it gets less scary.
Yeah. You know
Um,
what else we do that with very regularly? Performance reviews, self-evaluations. We have a whole this is, I'm sure, not a Mozilla specific thing, but I love the Mozilla version of it. Our introverts Slack channel that's like, hey, come sit on a video call and write your self-evaluation because those suck. They're awful. Nobody wants to do them. We'll just all hang out like 20, 30 people in a Zoom call in silence with our video off.
oh,
But
with the
we're
video
just
off. Oh,
sometimes,
I need to like stare down another human to get the guilt.
and just sit there together and do it. Yeah.
You talked really briefly about like, oh, you're like once you get comfortable in a task, your job will expand a little and then it gets scary again.
Hmm.
This is actually a learning concept as well. So we've talked about this really briefly, but there's a concept called the zone of proximal development. And I mostly know it from language learning, but it's true of all learning. Um, and the stuff in the middle is the stuff you're really comfortable with, the stuff you could just do, but you're
Hmm.
not really learning new stuff, you're practicing. The zone of proximal development is stuff where you might not need to look at the docs or you might need to ask a friend, or you might need to mirror with somebody. So you need a little bit of guidance, but you can do it. And that's generally where you're going to be if you're learning something. And when you get into a developer role or into a role using code, you're going to be there a lot, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's always going to be some new thing. Like, honestly, I work with someone on my team who is a veteran from the Netscape days, from way before we were Firefox, before that existed as a concept, back at Netscape times. So, like, he knows what he's doing. He knows so much. And we absolutely will sit and work on a problem together and hem and haw over syntax and problem solving. Like, it never goes away. It just shifts.
Just
So,
new
and that's
words for
okay.
it.
Yeah.
And for learners who have never heard the word Netscape before, that is the
Oh,
browser that
but
I
I date
used
myself.
back before Emily and Ramon were born.
Oh, no, I did too. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Oh, whoa. Sorry, I just
We
assumed
might be
age.
more peers than you think, but yeah.
In which case, we will say goodbye to the learners, and I will follow up with like several pointed questions about sunscreen or like a vegan diet. What do we do? So, learners, my loves, your
Hey,
homework,
Chris.
if you get a chance, when you get some time, is going to be to see how far you can get to 50. Because from tomorrow, we're going to pick this up from 50 and it's going to be super chill. We are still going to abandon you before we finish, so you get to finish your game on your own. As always, your most important homework is to be very soft and gentle to yourself. This is so hard. You're in this like wubby blue area, and some of this you're in the light blue area. This is rough. Be gentle to yourselves. Bye,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone. It's been wonderful.